Featured Artist number 14. The last episode was number 12, and this is number 14. You know why. I'm not going to mention it. Welcome to the show. Hello to all of the people already in the live chat. It's always great to have you here. I can see you all saying hello. You are such an important part of the show. What's the point in even doing a live show if you don't have the audience taking part? So I just want to remind you all, when we're listening to songs tonight or this morning or this afternoon, whenever you're listening, do make sure you let us know what you're thinking of the music. Because the point of this show is to give people feedback on the music they're releasing. Some of it needs just a few compliments. Some of it needs a little bit of sort of constructive criticism, you might say. There's all sorts in here, all kinds of different levels. So anyway, wonderful to have you here, as I say, in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, make sure you leave some comments down there as well. I want to say hello to a couple of people. First of all, I'll say hello to Doug. Doug, nice to see you here. And I know that for Doug, it's extremely, extremely early wherever he's from. Somewhere in the US, is it, Doug? I'm sorry, Doug, but let me know. Let me know in the comments. Who else have we got here? We have Joe Glenn. G'day, how you going? And let's just say hello to one more. And I think we've probably got Mimo Japan. We have got Mimo Japan. He hasn't come up in my chat yet, but always good to see Mimo here. And if you're in the live chat, make sure you stay on the right side of Mimo, because Mimo is our moderator. And I don't know if he ever actually has to do anything, but don't test that theory for me, please. Keep it clean. Anyway, I just want to say before we do get stuck in here and I bring my guests into the show, that if you have not entered any music for this show and you would like to, follow the link in the description down below for that. And lastly, before I do, in fact, bring my wonderful guests into the show, I want to remind you about the sponsor. This is DistroKid, and they're not just my sponsor. I really do believe they provide a really awesome and extremely affordable service, which I use to release all my music. Talking about people who release all of their music through DistroKid, I'm going to bring up my first guest, and his name is Mr. Pete Johns from Studio Live today. G'day, Pete. How you going, mate?
Oh, g'day, Mike. Sorry, I was just about to have get to wind down for the night, but for some reason I'm still awake. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, for people who don't know, for some reason, some parts of the world feel the need once a year to go to their clocks and push the hour hand 1 hour backwards or forwards and pretend it's a different time. Where I am, we don't do that, and actually, where you are, you don't do that either, right?
Where I am, we do. So South Australia do. Northern Territory don't, who are in the same time zone for half the year and then not for the other. And the same on the other. Our country's a mess. Look, time zones in Australia are an absolute disaster because no one does the same thing. It's so
confusing because normally you've been 2.5 hours different to me, but
now it's 1.5.
Well, 1.5. Oh, we're closer.
We're getting closer.
It's nice to be close to you.
We're nudging our way. I only know this stuff because of cricket. So the only reason I care about Perth at all is sometimes you have cricket there. So when the cricket starts, I need to know what time the cricket is going to start.
And we've got one of the finest cricket grounds in the world, in fact, here.
The Wacker, and then you've got a giant heat bowl that you've just built.
Yes, the other thing is no good for cricket or for music as well, I have to say. Sorry, Optus Stadium, been to 2 or 3 gigs there, absolutely appalling sound, really, really bad.
Funnily enough, they don't make sports stadiums with acoustics in mind. And,
they don't.
They make more money at concerts sometimes than sports. I don't know why they don't. But
anyway, we're breaking all the rules here because we're supposed to be saying stimulating things for our audience so that we keep our retention high and all that kind of thing, and that they hit the like and all that kind of stuff.
Like, comment, and subscribe, folks.
Like, comment, subscribe,
ring the bell,
and all that. I didn't forget to mention. That's it. You've got a bell.
I've got a bell. I have a bell.
Do that again. Oh, you've got a real bell. I thought it was a sound effect.
No,
I thought you've got
I'm analog,
device.
mate. I am old school. I have a bell. That way, when I say saucy things and like I say, show us your collection of 12 inches, Mike. You can just do that.
Oh my Lord. So anyway, nice to have Pete always from Studio Live today. He thought he was going to come straight from his show to my show, but he instead spent an hour with his wife, and she's just messaged me and said, "Thanks, Mike." She enjoyed your company. Was it a sarcastic? Maybe it was a sarcastic. Maybe it was sarcastic. Thanks, Mike. I don't know. Anyway, before we get into trouble, this could get us more into trouble, in fact, let's bring up my other wonderful guest, and that is, of course, Jade Starr. Jade Starr is, of course... Hey! It's a pop-up. Let's sort things out here a little bit. Hang on. I think I better be in the middle. Yes, let's figure those things. So, Jade, how are you doing? Oh, my Lord. Do I even want to ask? Go for it, Jade. Tell us about yourself for people who don't know.
What kind of a show do you run here? What is this madness? I'm Jade.
That was very interesting. So that's all the guests on the show.
Yeah,
let's
get
on with...
bye. Let me hit the button. All right, I'm out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll introduce Jade. Jade has a wonderful channel called it's Jade Starr, but it's how to app as well. And every single day, Jade's on the internet telling you about just things that you don't know about, that you need to know about in terms of music stuff and things like that on your phone. Unfortunately for me and Pete, Jade's got another app to play with tonight. I won't spoil this.
Turned it off.
Really?
Well, my computer just crashed. Did you see me disappear? My computer crashed. I had to reboot.
It was because of that, was it? I don't know. Yeah. Listen, guys, let's talk about music. I just want to prime the show a little bit and say... just a quick little story for you, anecdote, because I think it sort of plays, you might have things to say about it, and it also plays a little bit into some of the music today. So for people who have been watching the channel, I know Jade and Pete are also aware of this. Last week I recorded a new song with Susie, and it was quite interesting. Quick story on this. Tuesday evening last week, Susie was singing in the bedroom, and I thought to myself, what if I write a song which really matches her range, like really matches the range of her vocals? I was just having to listen. I took some notes about where her low and high notes were, and I thought I'd write something to her strengths where she could sing powerfully, sing gently, and what have you. Just to, let's do this. This could be fun. She was still singing in the bedroom. I ran to the studio. And then I remembered a conversation I'd recently had with my mum a few days before, and I thought, I'll write about that. And that gave me a little bit of inspiration lyrically. I ran into the bedroom and said, Suze, what do you reckon? Here's a couple of verses. And she said, oh, that's good. I like that. Keep going. Ran back into the studio, wrote another couple of choruses, a verse, got it all together just like that. The whole thing took an hour. Went back in, played it to her once in my voice, and she said, I like that. I'd like to have a go at that. So I thought, fine. So I'm trying to cut this story short as I can. So next morning, I had a little bit of time because I had to go and have a jab, and so I wasn't planning on making any videos that day. And I recorded the guitars, the bass, the piano, and some strings in the morning. Ding, 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 ding. No mucking around, no second guessing anything. Just do it, what have you. Came back on Wednesday evening, and Susie said, I really want to have a go at singing that song. I really want to have a go. I've been thinking about it at work today. Can I have a go? I said, sure. Printed out the lyrics, and she had a go a couple of times. I'll just hit record, I said, so we can remember what we've done. I hit record, recorded her voice, and I thought, gee, I listened to it back. I did a quick mix. I thought, geez, I like that. That sounds good. I thought she sounds great on it, right? So that was the guide vocal. Then we thought, let's record the proper vocal at the weekend. So we thought, right, she'll rest her voice a bit for a couple of days. She'll get some good sleep. So her voice is tip-top condition with the plan of doing 3 or 4 takes. Folks who are watching, when I do comping, multiple takes and pick the best, I never do more than 3 or 4. Don't go recording freaking 7 or 8 versions of what you do. You'll have too many choices when you come to it. It's much better to have 3 or 4. And another little tip, we actually like now to pick what we think is the best one, and that's the take. And then if there's just a phrase here and there, we may pick it from the other couple of takes. Anyway, we did that. Here's a little bit of what's interesting about this. She was super prepared. Her voice was in great condition. We'd set it up. We made the room comfortable. We want to get a good take, put some effort into it. And she recorded the whole thing. and we were listening back to the mix, and the final chorus, we thought, it's just not happening. It's just, what the hell? We've put all this effort into it, and that everything else in the song is great, but that final chorus, And we ended up taking the chorus that she'd recorded on the first night when she hardly knew the lyrics, and it was just, let's just record this roughly. And that made the final chorus of the song, what was supposed to be the rough, just chuck it out. And it was by far the best, and I think it's the best part of the song, in fact, for me. I know I'm prejudiced and all that, but you know. So one thing I want to say, if you get the chance to write for another person, another voice other than your own in your songwriting career, hobby, whatever it is, do it. It's the funnest thing in the world. I love writing music more recently, and having Susie in mind, knowing that she can just really grab something I can write and make a great job. I love that, and I don't have to bother about my own voice and its limitations and things, which is nice. But there's that, and the other thing, which is going to come up with one of our songs tonight, which is sometimes those rough takes. In fact, not sometimes, a lot of the times those rough takes are the ones that work. Have you had that kind of experience, Jade, in the past, where you've tried so hard and it's the rough take which works for you?
Absolutely. Every time I record, I will keep, like, say I'm in GarageBand on iOS, I will use, I'll have the original template before I start doing one project, and I'll do rough vocals on that. Then I'll copy that project and start doing all the other vocals on the new one. And nearly every time, there's at least 50% of the song I will use the original vocal takes from. Absolutely. It's a thing. Incredible. It is a thing.
Do you think it's a sort of mentality thing, Pete? Do you think it's just where you are mentally in that time, or because you're
it is. It's related to like red light syndrome or whatever you want to call it. That sometimes the more prepared and the more planned you are, the less you actually deliver the passion that you actually need to make something really special. And yeah, I've learned that a long time ago. That never half-ass your scratch vocals. Like, still just give it everything you can when you're recording those, because again, at least 50% of the time something goes in there, and even if at worst it's going to be my vocal double, because you can save yourself some time if you do an original version and then you do it differently. You can then pick and choose, and then you can always use it as a vocal double or triple on your main lead vocal anyway. So I find that's the case. And when you first, again, Susie would have just discovered that song, and she would have probably been more interested in it then. Exactly. She'd gone away and studied it, learnt the lyrics, and was sitting down and, like you said, prepared. Sometimes prepared ain't it. Sometimes your best singing is where you just grab the mic and yell into it and see what happens.
Yep.
Somebody just said in the comments there that I guess they're meaning they don't do vocals, but you know, I do find that this can be the same with guitar as well. I'm sure other instruments as well. That if I'm just casually, I mean, I'm normally doing finger picking when I play guitar, but even strumming, I don't play any lead really. But it's like, as soon as I really sort of, if I've got a finger picking part, as soon as I analyze it, I think, I want it exactly like this and like that. It just feels a bit wooden all of a sudden, like it's just not right. Whereas the initial takes, I'm not really caring about it. And the other thing is, I'm terrible for this, but someone teach me how not to do this. It's the little squeaks and things that bother me when I'm recording, and I'll go, there was one little squeak in there, I've got to retake the whole thing again, you know. It's like, and that costs me big time. I shouldn't do it.
The perfect imperfections are what make some of the best songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's those squeaks that make songs. I mean, I've got demos of bands I did back in the 90s, and I remember when I recorded it and you hear the squeaks in the guitars and stuff, that I hated it for so long. And now every time I hear it years after, if it wasn't there, it just wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, so true. So true. Now, listen, I'm going to bring up our first artist for tonight. I wasn't highly prepared today, so I haven't got the name printed out for anyone to read. Oh, that means I'm going to have to read it. Bugger. So anyway, so the first of these artists tonight is Peter Crone. He's got a song, Nothing Without You. He's from Wollongong in New South Wales. We're having such an Australian show tonight, aren't we? I forgot to mention that I am in Perth, Western Australia. Pete is in Adelaide in South Australia, and Jade is in Melbourne in Victoria. So all the best parts of Australia are here tonight, and we've got an artist from the fourth best part, which is New South Wales. Wollongong has a whole bunch of people probably leave this stream now in disgust.
Well done, Mike.
We somehow have 5 time zones represented. Don't ask. It's fine.
We do. So anyway, a little bit of backstory for Peter. Originally written in bed with the flu on a nylon string guitar, so that's why he's ended up with a kind of a melancholy vibe, he said. He felt it should be a duet, so he enlisted the help of a session singer. Jess Boyle is her name, and I think she's also from Wollongong. Recorded the demo at home on Logic Pro. Pete, have you been using Logic recently?
I'm starting to next week actually. I'm diving into Logic Pro, and I know Jade is as well. We're stepping up our game.
Good fun.
Well, but I'm not abandoning you, by the way. Everyone that keeps going, oh, you're not going to use GarageBand on, isn't that what you do on your channel? No, I'm still going to be using GarageBand, but you can use.
I've used Logic before. It's great. I've recorded a couple of songs in Logic. It's really nice. Anyway, he used Logic Pro and Rode K2 mic, good old Aussie mic, and with direction from a friend. I'll mention his name, Anthony Snape. I don't know Anthony Snape, but apparently he's a little bit well known as a singer in those parts. And he convinced our artist Peter to sing. Peter doesn't normally sing. Okay, so we've got an artist we're going to be listening to who's singing, who is doing it hesitantly, right? But he was convinced, you really should sing this. Finally recorded it in a studio. Don't know the name of the studio, but the producer was Mitch Cairns, using Pro Tools, live drums, live bass, live piano, all that good stuff in the studio. And he mostly had trouble with the vocals, he was saying, especially in the studio. I don't know if I want to offer a solution to this, but I'll tell you what the problem was. When he actually got to the studio, he had the female vocals were already on the track, so he was now singing along with someone else. Now, I don't suffer from this problem, but I have come across people that do, where when he had the other vocal in his headphones, he started trying to sing the other vocal part kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he didn't figure that out till later, but interestingly, kind of abandoned the vocal that he recorded in the studio and ended up using the demo vocal, as we were talking about, which he'd recorded at home on Logic. And there were some other issues with the vocalist that was on there. The studio had picked that vocalist, not the one who was finally, but the studio had picked it. He hadn't heard it, and he wasn't very happy. So it's just, what was interesting about that for me is, you gain so much by going to a studio, don't you? I mean, you gain the expertise of people, but you can also lose things, because recording at home is great for being a control freak, isn't it? You get to control everything and make all the decisions, just saying. It's a bit of a pros and cons kind of a thing. Anyway,
it is.
We should have a listen to the song. Let's do it.
Music. Ready, please, Mr. Music?
All right, shut up.
In stereo.
Don't make me get my mirror out.
Here we go.
Without without you, holding on, holding on.
So there we go. What a start to the show. I'm going to turn to Jade first of all. Jade, give us your...
Yeah, I really enjoyed the song. It's a really, really spacey song. I really love the drum sound. Lots of had a really garagey sound in it for being recorded in the studio, and it really suited the song. Definitely suited the song. What I really enjoyed, I have to say, what I did enjoy, was that the male vocal, Peter, that's the artist name, is that right? Yeah,
right, yeah.
Was very airy to match the song, but the female vocal was really up front, in center, and it had a really good EQ on it, and it sounded like you could take that vocal mix of her part and put that in a commercial song and it would sound absolutely beautiful right up front to a really high production kind of song, a pop song. And the contrast between them was really nice. At first, when I first heard her come in, I was like, oh wow, that's such a stark contrast. But then when they were in there together, it really, really worked really nice. Really good song. Look, hard to fault because I just sat back and enjoyed it. It's hard to, when you do these kind of shows, you sit there and you listen to a track and you're like, what can I find that's good and bad out of this? And then you're like, hang on a minute, let me just kick back. I'm actually enjoying it. I don't want to think.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Exactly. I just want to be like Mike and not use my brain and not think.
Exactly right.
But a fantastic song. I really enjoyed the production, and I'd love to hear more. Really cool.
Cool. Okay, I'll take that as well. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, I have to beg to agree. No, I liked it as well. I also picked up that the breathiness in the voice, it had almost that huskiness of like a Pete Murray, and that'll mean not much to people outside of Australia, but he does sort of acoustic rock like that, and just that real sort of just feeling that little sort of breathiness in there worked really well. I liked the chord progression was good. I'm a sucker for that major to minor chord progression, so when it's like the bring, that's really interesting as opposed to just going to a 1-4-5-2 or something like that. Just created a little bit of interest there. The two voices work well together, and especially in chorus. It was kind of like when Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue got together. You're like, there's no way Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue are going to sound good together because they're such different voices and different vocal styles, and they sounded freaking amazing. So I think that's the same with this sort of track, that it just the contrast between the voices sounded really good. The variety was good all throughout. It wasn't a cut and paste job. You could tell that they actually put some effort into the structure of the song, as opposed to just doing the same thing over and over again. And the drums were it's weird. They were so subtle, but they were actually the highlight to me, because you could tell it was a professional drummer that knew his stuff, or her stuff, because there wasn't I was waiting for like some sort of big sort of 80s fills, and they weren't there, but they didn't need to be. I think it would have been distracting if they were there. It was it was like a chugging along. It was like a metronome, but in a good way. It was just kicking the song along, and it was exactly what it needed. It almost felt like it might have been with brushes or something. Like it was a very subtle drum sound that went throughout. So yeah, I really dug it. The only thing, and this is a choice thing, the stereo guitar at the start, I'm not a fan, but that's an absolute personal thing. And I thought it was a little distracting to hear that bouncing vibrato guitar at the very, very start. And then the rest of the song, it didn't really fit in. Like that wasn't happening throughout the rest of the song, but it was just that first 5 seconds. And it was a personal mixing choice, but it wasn't my jam, that particular part.
Okay, interesting. I haven't got much to add. I enjoyed the song very much. I would probably say to Peter that your voice is a certain type. You should continue to use it in that way. I think by the sounds of your voice, if you try and be something you're not, it won't work. I think I wouldn't say you've exactly got a Nick Cave voice, but I can see why Pete mentioned it, because there's something reminiscent in there, and you wouldn't hear Nick Cave trying to be something other than
belt out show tunes.
Exactly. So I'd say I'm glad that you're encouraged to sing on this song. I'd be interested to hear whether you can hold the main role without the vocals. So I will be listening to some more of your tracks. And by the way, guys, and people watching on the replay and watching in there, do follow the link in the description. People put a lot, as you all know, people put a lot of effort into making music, and it often takes days, weeks, months, money, time, emotional energy, etc. Getting people to then come somewhere and listen to your music is really, really hard. So we need to help each other out with that. So definitely just take that moment just out of your day. And remember, you want other people to listen to your music? Well, you've got to play fair, hey? Have a listen to other people's music as well. It takes a little bit of time out, maybe when you're washing the dishes or walking or what have you. Have a listen to some of these tracks. So follow that link. Jade's very good at sharing these. There is links in the description for this. And I, for one, will be having a listen to some more of Peter's other music to see how it sounds as well. So good stuff there. Of course, in order to get people to hear your music and to be able to buy your music, you're going to have to get it out there, and you're going to need a way to distribute it. Jade's a little bit ahead of me here.
I've got the wrong one up.
So there is a link in the description down below for our sponsor, DistroKid, and the reason you want to go there, well, I'll show you the reason you want to go there right now. Now, if you do follow the link in the description down below, it's going to take you to a special page on DistroKid with this yellow banner at the top. That banner is letting you know that you're going to get a further 7% discount off your first year if you sign up here. And let's face it, it's already very cheap. If we scroll down, we can see that a year's membership is $19.99 per year for an unlimited number of albums and songs. And so long as it's your own music, there are no extra charges, and you get to keep all of the royalties from the various platforms. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Pandora, Amazon, Instagram, Tidal, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and more. I've got adverts. Did you notice?
See, I've got to step it up now. I think I need to write a song. Hang on. We love DistroKid. They help your music get heard. Yeah.
Yeah, that was see inspiration there, just like that. I drew it out of
Ridiculous. I love it.
Ridiculous. Now, let's move before things will get out of hand at the end of the show, I'm predicting. But listen, let's move on to our next song already. And while you guys were talking, it gave me a chance to prepare my captions and things. And it is a little bit of a tradition of the show to have my guests read out the artist names. So I am, just out of cruelty, in fact, now going to ask Jade to read out the...
Never happened before.
It's happened on all the other shows that you haven't watched, Jade.
Clearly not tuning in, Jade.
Here we are. Jade, if you could let us know, I'm going to pop it on the screen now. This is the artist name and the title of our next piece.
Onen Ayer, O Le Moon.
I like it. That wasn't too bad. That is a artist name. The actual writer, I've got it here. You can't see it. His or her name is Mayo Nen, right? And I'm going to refer to them as the artist from now on. Sorry.
Formerly known as.
Going to be known as the artist. So this is a song which was, I don't know if you do this, but I'll go to Jade and ask this question. When you're sort of getting inspiration for songs, do you have like a catalogue, or do you have a notebook with lots of half-written songs in there, or do you record them on your phone? What's the deal there?
Well, I just finished recording an EP during September for my band FMC. And yeah, I had a notepad full of stuff, full of disgusting lyrics. The
police have now confiscated that notepad.
A lot of them stealing your material now.
Well, so I even have, I think, for the next FMC album, which begins work in February, already have the 30 songs for that album already pretty much written, all in a notepad as well. So yeah, and you know what I use a lot, and I've been using it for I use that rhyme website. There's a rhyming website.
Yes, I don't know the name, but I do use it. Yeah.
Just searching for a word. I've been using it from this Desir album. So this is my other band, Desir, which I've been writing lyrics for. Yeah, and whenever I come up for a word that I need to rhyme, it's just those kind of things are fantastic. You get 100 words come up, and you just got to find the word that rhymes that matches the crap that you're writing.
Intestine. Oh, clandestine. Oh.
Intestine, clandestine. Yes, wank's not sandwich.
Do you go old school? Is it a notepad, or do you now use your iPhone for everything?
I've been digital for a long time. I'm a OneNote user, actually, because in my previous life as a corporate drone, I was forced to use Microsoft products, so I kind of suckled at the teat of Office 365. So since then, and because I wasn't a very good worker, I would spend a lot of time just sneaking in lyric ideas and chord progressions into my notebook when I was supposed to be planning marketing meetings. So I just kind of took all of that, and now it's all in my OneNote. So I've got a OneNote with about 7 different sections and literally hundreds and hundreds. So I won't run out of songwriting ideas until about 2047 at this rate.
Cool.
Can I just clarify? When I say notepad, I meant notepad on my phone. Like I don't.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I don't actually use a notepad.
No actual paper.
Paper. Yeah, that paper. It's disgusting.
I know I'm the only Samsung user here or Android user here, so you're not going to be able to see it, but I use their notes, their built-in Samsung Notes thing, right? Sometimes, but I mostly just use the video camera. Which I just record sound with. So it's just easy to get the camera. I just press record and I'll record whatever idea I've got. Just grab the guitar. So that means whenever people put those posts on Facebook, which is like, oh, choose the 5th video on your camera, and it's always just something, my camera pointing up at the air conditioning ducts in my ceiling as while I'm recording a song. So I can't take part in those crappy posts that my friends put on Facebook, unfortunately. Anyway, moving on. So he or she, the artist, recorded this in Cakewalk, of course, using stock plugins, plus a little bit of Native Instruments Massive and Battery. Massive is really awesome. I use that sometimes myself more for special effects and things. Korg MS-20 synth, an old Scarlett 18i6 interface with an external ISA mic pre. They're very good mic pre's. This has got vocal parts in many different layers. I didn't pick it up in the notes. They were saying that there was a part which is a female part, which they just sung in really high voice to get that. I've done that before. Have you ever sung female parts, Pete, on your songs?
Yeah. I have a habit of just singing random falsetto bits and trying to harmonise. And people have often said, "Oh, where did you get a female backing singer?" And I was like, no, it was just me. I just like to sing like that sometimes.
You've just got to find the female within you, haven't you, to do it? Notice I'm not going to Jade on this particular one.
Jade. I can do all of them. I can, do the whole that's it. I'm transgender.
About 7 octaves.
I'm transgender. I have a 7-octave voice, so I've always been able to hit the highs and hit the incredible lows. And,
yes. So evil. So there's lots of vocals on this. Let's have a listen out for that, and essentially just use stock plugins for this. I'm always glad to hear when someone's just gone, yeah, I'm not going to buy anything or even download all the free stuff. I'm just going to go with whatever came with the door and make use of it. It's a very healthy attitude, I find. Let's listen to this song, which is Ooh La Moon.
Time began, man has been fascinated by the mystery of the moon. But over 60 years ago,
Yes, there you are, Jade. Right in the middle of it.
What's going on?
I guess we're going to Jade
the Jade
first.
Starr show.
Did we go to Jade first last time? I can't remember.
No, it's Pete first this time. You're a pro, Mike.
No. Not. All right, Pete, then. Oh, okay. No, I've changed my mind. No. All right, Jade. Nobody else could see you, but I could see you bopping a little bit there. What's going on?
Well, it's not my type of music. You know that. I think most people know that. It's not the type of music I would listen to. So it's it's hard to critique because I don't listen to that kind of music. But what I did here, and it's going to show my age, I heard Nick Kershaw in there. A bit of Nick Kershaw, a bit of Pet Shop Boys. Look, I really love the backing vocals. I thought they were really swimming and really nice. They really filled everything out really well. I thought some of the main vocals are probably just a bit, a bit around my head too much. I would have liked them just focused a little bit more. Just but the music was thumping, really thumping all the way through. The music was making me move. It was a really constant, nice thump. It's really well produced. Really, the music was super well produced. The backing vocals were great. I love the end. I thought the end out just stopped. I love a good cut off, something that shocks you into a bit of false ending there. But for something that's not really my type of music, you're right. It had me bopping. I thought there were probably a few vocal bits in the main vocal that maybe were a bit out of key, just missed some notes. That's just a little thing I pick up as a singer, but I would have sung it a little bit different. But hey, it's a great song. Good song. Like at the end of the day, if it gets your head moving, what are you going to do? You can't really sit here.
And again, it struck me again that it was a very classy song in terms of mix. Sorry, Pete, don't want to step on your toes here, but it was very classy in terms of mix. But again, I just want to emphasise here, pretty much stock plugins and everything for the mix. Okay, even though I'll just bring myself up. Even though I personally obviously make review videos on plugins, and I'm trying to get you guys, and I use obviously some commercial plugins for my mixes. Don't think you have to. Don't think because you haven't got enough money to buy these things that means you can't get a great mix. I know Pete would agree with me, wouldn't you, Pete?
I would agree with you, Mike, because I'm too lazy and I just don't bother usually using much else, because I think when I think back to the original days, not to get old man yelling at cloud here, but you used what you had. Like you had one reverb, you had one delay, and then you had your EQ that was sitting on your console. Like the fact multiple EQs was not even a concept that existed. So the fact that people are like, you mustn't use the stock EQ. It's like you're turning up and down the volume of frequencies. If the interface works and it works for you, just use it. And I like that. And in this particular case, yeah, it made a very full mix. I've written a few notes here, and I just said funky. I was grooving along to that. I agree with the Nick Kershaw, very 80s synth wave, like the drums and the synths coming together there with the vocals, with lots of processing on the vocals. The tune, it wasn't really an auto-tune effect. It was some, like the sort of vocoder style effect that went over one of the vocals. I thought was really interesting, and that gave it some variety again, because it wasn't the same vocal all the way through. The mix was super full, very spacey, which sort of matched it, and good contrast between the verses. So while the mix was very full and there was lots going on, there was a bit of dynamic range there, which you can often lack in a tune like this, because sometimes it's just like it starts at 11 and it goes all the way through, and then it ends, and you don't get any of that variety. So I like that it went down, but yeah, I really think it's kind of a radio ready kind of mix, and something that I would stick out there. The only thing that distracted me was it looked like the image, and I know you probably can't show it now, but the image of the person, was that someone that just cracked a really large gas explosion from their rear end that was flying through the space? Because that really really distracted me, that they were so high and they just seemed to have So is that someone that it looks like they were on the outhouse and they just had a really bad accident and they just propelled themselves out towards the moon? So maybe it was just me.
Man, it's late where you are, isn't it?
It's really late. You've kept me up way past my bedtime, Mike. I'm making fart jokes. So
I like it. Yeah. Jade picks up on something really interesting there as well. For me, and I'm not, as Jade says, I'm not a complex person. I was thinking that the vocal was a little just a little quiet. It was the only thing with the mix with me, and it could be an artistic decision, right? It could be. It wasn't a bad mix kind of thing. I just would have had it like, 5% louder. But it could be, as Jade has pointed out, that it was too wide. So you could potentially not have my way and adjust the volume or the fade or what have you of the volume of the vocal at all, but think in Jade's way, and that's get it in the centre. Things obviously right in the centre will tend to have a little bit more prominence without necessarily needing to have more volume. So that's it's very minor criticism. You could totally get by without changing that, but I wouldn't mind here if you were ever if you needed to remix it at all, then I'd just nudge those vocals up just a tiny tad. And the other thing I want to mention about that is it can be a downfall of mixing your own vocals. Either you're going to feel not very confident about your vocals or too close to them, or you're hearing all the imperfections. So, I mean, we all mix our own stuff, don't we, at home, I know. But I can definitely see advantages of at least getting other people's ears on things before you push that mix out, because your personal connection to something like a vocal, which is very personal, could probably skew your judgment in terms of levels. Anyway, that was good stuff. Now, one of the great things about, getting that music out there, as we say, through the sponsor above Pete's Head, DistroKid, is probably a lot of you would imagine that it's quite a difficult thing to do, that you've got to open up a million accounts everywhere with Spotify, with iTunes, all of those people. But as it turns out, even a fool like me, even a person who doesn't like to think like me very much, can actually do it very easily on DistroKid, and I'll show you how, in actual fact. If you want to release your music via DistroKid, there's just a couple of things you need. First of all, the music itself. Here's mine in my DAW Cakewalk, and I'm exporting it to an uncompressed WAV file for best results. Now, the other thing you'll need is some artwork. I just grabbed an old photo which I'd taken on the beach, chucked on some text here, and that's what I call art. Then I went over to DistroKid, and I just have to fill in this extra easy form. It's a no-brainer form. You get helped all the way through with little hints and things. You can't really do anything wrong. You just go ahead and confirm a few things about your music, and then you just have to actually upload the artwork and the song itself, and DistroKid takes care of the rest. It's going to send it out to all of the best platforms so that people can hear and buy your music. Yes, so that was that. If you haven't followed that link and you haven't got any of your music out there to the world, definitely follow the link in the description for that. And as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to follow the links in the description for the wonderful artists who have bared their music to our critique this evening, especially in front of Jade, Starr.
God, Can you record some DistroKid ads for me, Mike? So
yeah, I know.
On my channel.
I do.
I just do a live read. DistroKid are going to be saying, "Johns, lift your game. Enjo's got friggin' ads now."
It's only because, to be quite honest with you, just useless information. On Restream here, you can't queue up several videos. You can only queue up one video at a time, right? So on my previous platform, who I won't mention their name, who always broadcast me one, you could at least queue up quite a few videos, so I didn't need to have a break. But this gives me an opportunity to do things in the background while I play those little things. Anyway,
He's saying you can multitask.
No, I literally can't. It has to be linear. So anyway,
Mike likes DistroKid, but his artwork's not that good. Oh, sorry.
I just took this photo. It was rubbish here. way to build it up.
I thought it wasn't too bad.
It was actually all right. I rate it. Don't tell anyone, but I quite like it.
Yeah. What you use? What's that you use, Pete?
I use Canva.
Canva.
Yeah, because I'm a bad designer, and Jade uses what used to be Over, now GoDaddy Studios. So
yes.
Yeah, you don't need a Photoshop. You don't need to suckle at the Adobe teat. You can use a pretty cheap or free.
There's lots of ways to make artwork these days. You don't need. I happen to have Photoshop, but you don't need to. Anyway. Moving on to our last artist, and in fact, Pete has the honour of reading their name and song title. Pete.
Oh, look, I have an idea. It's Ivan Idea with Epic Love. I'm intrigued to hear what this Ivan Idea character that you talk of, what sort of music he makes.
So, full disclosure, Ivan Idea is the artist name, is known to our guests tonight, to Pete and Jade. But I want to say up front that this isn't some sort of in thing where we got our mates' music on there. I had no idea, pun, I had no idea at the time of getting this submission onto my website that this was known to our guests this evening, and then our artist did let me know by email. He said, "Oh, I happen to know the guests on your show." So there's been no shenanigans here. It's all been above board. I did choose this because I thought it was an interesting track to listen to, which is always. Oh, this is a bit of a tough thing to say, but if you are submitting music, I'm getting a lot of music coming through and I'm picking 3 per show. So think when you're sending your songs in, I'm not saying it has to be the best song in the world, but send me something which has got something to talk about, something interesting to talk about is always helpful because we are having a chat about music on here. So if you're trying to decide which song should I send through to be submitted, then something with a story behind it or a story behind the production or what have you.
Sorry, your face froze. No.
Oh, did it? Oh, no.
Yeah, only for about 3 seconds.
What an awesome... I'm looking at it now. Oh, wasn't that... It was so nice.
I can
do that again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and for anyone that thinks that Mike colludes, it's completely lie because he only tells us 2 days beforehand that we're actually going to be on the show. So he's way too disorganized to ever try and collude on this stuff.
Absolutely. So I haven't got much of a backstory, but I know that this was recorded a few years back, in fact, recorded in Pro Tools using a great interface, RME UFX interface. The mic was a Shure SM7B, like the one that I'm using here right now, through a Great River preamp into a 500 series Lindell compressor. So a nice vocal chain there. And the song was actually about his friend's girlfriend cheating on him and pretending about being in love. Never heard of that happening ever before. There was a little bit of melodyne and vocaline used on this as well. This often comes up, I don't know why after all these years, about pitch correction. Just conversations get a little bit boring, but anyway, I do use melodyne more recently in the last couple of years. I quite like it actually. I've never used what's it called? Auto-tune. Ever used that, Jade or Pete? No.
It's garbage. The only time you use auto-tune is when you're a really good singer. People have this misconception of like, oh, but I'm not a good singer. I'll just throw auto-tune on it. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be a really good singer for it to actually do its thing. And if you are going to use it, you turn it down. But just don't use it. It's rubbish. But Melodyne's awesome. Any of those, the Logic one that I've been playing with that's awesome. It's not cheating, hey,
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Tuning a vocal, and again, what it will do is it'll make a bad vocalist sound even worse. It'll make a good vocalist used subtly sound like really good if used in moderation, like most things. And whenever people say, "Oh, why would you tune a vocal?" I'm like, do you tune a guitar? A guitar's an instrument. Your voice is an instrument. Tune your voice. Sometimes it's just out of tune, and sometimes you just need to tweak it to tune it up. And we have the technology to tune it after the fact. So be it. It exists, and deal with it. So, yeah, I say more power to you if you need a tweak. But yes, to Jay's point, if you're a terrible singer, and I have a show called YML, and sometimes I get submissions that are people and they've auto-tuned their vocal because I know that they can't sing, and it does not sound good.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little interesting thing following on from my story earlier on about the song that myself and Susie recorded. So another thing that we experimented with, and you may be interested to hear about, I've been interesting recently because, Pete, you and I have done things about headphones. Are you still sporting your Sennheiser HD 280 Pros?
I am. I can't find ones that fit my head better and feels good. So,
and have you got the same there, Jade?
I sure do. Yeah, just recently upgraded.
Now, the thing about those headphones, I've got a whole slew of headphones behind me. But the thing about the HD 280s is they are the best headphones in terms of, what do they call it, sort of isolation. They don't bleed or leak sound at all. Yep. I've got loads of headphones here, and those always the best. But up until now, I have to admit, I've probably said it in some of my videos, I've always gone down the line of, hey, if you're tracking, use closed back headphones. When you're mixing, use open back headphones. It's okay. However, I watched a video on a channel, I can't remember his name, about a guy, he does like an after hours thing. I can't remember his name anyway, but he was saying about recording vocals with no headphones, with the sound coming through the speakers. He had the thing about it with a particular microphone, which is very good at, some sort of dynamic microphone, and he was talking about the performance difference with the singer. So for the first time when myself and Susie recorded this song, she really wanted to use these headphones. These are some that I got a few weeks back. I just reviewed them. Austrian Audio, can't remember the model name, High X65s. Love these headphones. They're open back though. I absolutely love them. They're wonderful headphones. My favourite headphones. I made a video about it during the week. Anyway, the point is that Susie tried them. She loved them as well. And she said, I really want to use those headphones when I'm singing my vocal. I said, they're open back and they bleed like hell. Like everybody can hear what's coming through your headphones, right? And so we did the whole session. I said, okay, then do it. And if you listen to the vocals in isolate, if you listen to them in solo, the bleed is horrendous. I've got to tell you, there's things bleeding out of these headphones. But her performance, she said she wanted to do it again like that because she enjoyed, first of all, she could hear the room. So she liked that she could hear the room, that she could hear her voice bouncing around in the room, and she just felt kind of lighter and more comfortable. So another long story. Sorry about that, Jade, but
no, I just want to touch on that. It's important to feel comfortable recording vocals. Even when you go into a studio, if you go into an actual recording studio and the engineer is not helping you find a place of comfort in there and you feel out of place, or you feel like even in that room of isolation, there's been times, I mean, you can look at the Jim from the Doors. There's in the movie, he actually was getting services from somebody while he's singing. You have to feel comfortable and do whatever it takes to get the performance out of what you're doing. Even
I
if
like the fact that you said services. You know, Pete John swears on this show, right? You can say anything these days. He's opened the gate. Yeah. Anyway, services.
I'm trying to keep it clean. Jim Morrison, thank you very much. But no, and when I would go in there too, and sometimes the headphones, they matter. You want to actually hear yourself properly. You want to actually hear what's going on. I think it's really important, very important. Like the surroundings, how you're hearing yourself through your headphones. Even like with the first song tonight, with Peter's song, he was saying how when he was singing along to the female vocal track, he tended to like match her vocals. Yeah, you've got to find a way sometimes to get out of that trap, and sometimes it's headphones or just having something in the room with you that makes you feel good.
I've noticed that because working a lot more with, obviously I've got another performer in the house now, so I'm taking the engineering role a lot more, and I've noticed the mentality sometimes when you're the engineer is like, I have to be very strict with myself on this, is you kind of go, oh really? Are you sure the vocal's too quiet for you in your headphones? Because I'm sure it's right. And they go, no, the music's too loud, I can't hear myself. And you're going, but I'm listening to the same mix as you, and you sound really. And you've got to like let go of that and just give them exactly what they want, If you're engineering or producing for someone else,
totally.
It's very, very important. They do feel good. Anyway, let's listen to our song. As we say, I'll say the name again. I Have an Idea, Epic Love. Let's have a listen.
You act like everything is alright.
a guitar solo.
You snuck in a guitar solo.
How very Ivan.
Yeah. So I mean, as we discussed, I know Ivan and I've heard his music before. I don't think I've heard that particular song, and I'll be interested in what Jade has to say after her trashing of auto-tune and then hearing the amount of auto-tune that was used in that. But I think, as Ivan himself said in there, when it's used as an effect and when it's used by someone who's actually a singer that can hold notes, it actually sounds good. It was more of a vocoder sound in this one, which I actually really dig. I like that, and I love the harmonized kind of sound. I thought it worked really well and effective. This is what is at the end of animated movies, probably because I got young kids, but you hear an animated movie like an Over the Hedge or something like that. This is they've all going through the struggles, and then all the little cute animals at the end all get together and everyone lives happily ever after, and then it plays a pumping song like that. And that's exactly what it would be. I'm pretty sure that if you played any of those movies, that's the sort of song you're going to get. I think it had a really modern feel to it. No, Ivan said he made it a few years ago, but it's very modern in terms of its mix, in terms of its energy and how hyped it is. I reckon this is the next TikTok sensation, Ivan. I think you need to get this out there. I can see teenagers dancing in my head. That's weird. I can see this being really popular with the crowd that would be into this sort of music on TikTok.
It was towards the end of the show.
I know. I did warn you. I said once it passes 11:30, I'm kind of just going to fall in a heap. So okay. I'm going to quit while I'm behind and hand it over to Jade.
You know that? Yeah, anyway.
All right. I don't know.
3 years we've been working together. It took 3 years for you to make me go red. Yep, go on.
No. I said I'm going to quit while I'm behind and just say, no, that I dig it. And what I did like is the variety in the drums and the sounds. Like I love that 4 on the floor kick drum. I thought that was really full of energy as well. And the bass was really cool. There was one part with the bass, and it might have just been that I'm only wearing these Sennheisers, which we've discovered are good headphones, but probably don't have the dynamic range of something. So there was something that was way down there with a bass note, and it didn't sound like the right note, but I think that was more my headphones and the streaming that couldn't handle Ivan's awesome deep bass of his track. So yeah, I liked it. I dig it.
Awesome, thank you. Jade, pretend you don't know Ivan and let us know.
No, I do know him. I know him really well. I've mastered music of his too. So
really?
You know,
I didn't know the connection was that deep. Okay.
No, we hang out a lot. We hang out on Clubhouse a lot. You know, I've heard a lot of his music. So what I will say, and it's kind of a good thing that I know because, and you know what I mentioned with the last song, I'm not really into that kind of music. Right. So it's a really clubby kind of song. I know Ivan likes to take the piss a fair bit too, and he's not exactly like a very serious all the time. And I know he makes quite heavy music at the same time as well. He's really diverse. A lot of his music's really completely different. And what I found with that was there's a lot of what he does all squashed into that song. You know, there's the guitar solo because he does heavier stuff as well. And he can sing. So that's an example of actually using auto-tune to your strength, and it actually comes off that it makes sense. That's what T-Pain actually, wanted it to sound like. What I will say, and, I know Ivan well enough to say it, I think it was mixed like a rock band and not a dance track. I think, like, compared to the last track we listened to, where the to me, like the bass was really, really, really thumping and really lifted up, where I found that the playing bass along with that sounded like it was mixed like a rock band. And that's not the bad thing, because there's so many different genres kind of in there at the same time that it's going to be hard to find a balance to have that more electronic, deep bass sound when you're kind of playing with it sounded like a real bass in there, compared to, electronic kind of bass sound. So that's the clash you're going to get. I agree with Pete. You can hear it at the end of a Disney movie or a Toy Story or something like that. Definitely. I do like Ivan's heavier stuff more. It is what it is. That's my style of music. But I do know Ivan's worked for years. He's had his own recording studio. And I think his taste in music comes from mixing so many different kind of acts as well. And he's got a broad range of music, and he looks like Frank Zappa.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a good look.
That was his image in the on the video.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks very much, Ivan. I don't know you, and hadn't heard of you. like the other guys, I don't listen to this sort of music. Even my kids don't listen to this sort of music. It's just like, so
he's just putting them in his mind right now. So.
Oh dear. So the thing about it is, and I'll get the clause out for dance music here, and I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of my viewers create electronic and dance music, but what made this different and didn't make it sound like a dance track to me, although I get why people would think it is it sounded like a song to me. It had kind of different parts and different elements, and it changed. And it had structure. So I kind of feel it's like a bit of a disservice to pigeonhole it into a dance music kind of thing. One of my beloved viewers, Doug, is in here, and he said, he's an audio. So this guitar doesn't seem to go with the rest of the song. And Doug, that's exactly why I liked it. I loved, first of all, don't get me started. Can we please have solos back in music? I'm sick of the egotistical vocalist always being up front in center for the whole freaking song. That's me usually, but I like solos. I like sax solos. I like drum solos occasionally. I like bass solos especially. And yeah, guitar solos. It used to be a part of our musical culture up until so recent. I know there's heaps of music being made with guitar solos. I'm talking about very, very mainstream Spotify top 10, okay? I want them back, music industry. Please, we need a break from the vocals sometime. And anyway, but I enjoyed the fact that it was there, and I enjoyed the production of this. I can't really fault anything with the production at all. I mean, it was better than I could do by a long shot for this type of music. It was pumping all the way through. It still had dynamics in it, even though it was pumping all the way through. It's a great job, Ivan. Please go ahead and submit some more music, and I hope to see you regularly here. Someone addressed something which is a little bit more sort of serious, and I just want to quickly, because it's easy to leave these things. Way back in the comments, scrolling back, I saw someone mentioning something, and they may be signing up for DistroKid, and I'm not doing this just because it's DistroKid sponsored, but they were talking about tax. I can't find the comment, but they were saying something about it seemed to be a bit complex. It seemed like DistroKid, if you didn't fill out the tax. Here we go. I found it. Oh, hi, Mike. The tax form was a little confusing. Any tips? And it seemed to say that there may be tax agreements between the US and other countries. I do want to tackle this, actually. Myself and my guests are a lot more familiar with this kind of thing than a lot of you folks will be, because a lot of the time the only services you'll sign up for where you're going to get paid from overseas or what have you is probably with DistroKid. For people like myself and Pete and Jade, we have a number of different social media things where we may get different income streams from different countries. So we're a bit blasé about this, filling out the tax forms. What I want to say to you is there's a bit of a misconception going on out there that people like DistroKid are keeping your money, and sort of, I've heard the word steal be used before. It's not true. What they are required to do, as many other companies, is if you do not fill out your tax information correctly, they are required to withhold it until such time as you do. There are reciprocal agreements between Australia and other countries. It's not overly complex. I've seen people on Facebook say, "Oh, I'm going to have to get a tax person or an accountant to do this." No. It just takes a little bit of research. It's worth you spending 20 minutes of your day on once. And once you've done it once or twice, you'll do it. But thanks for bringing it up, Scott. And I wanted to address it because I haven't addressed it on the channel before. I don't want you to think either that DistroKid, who I think get a little bit of a bad rap on this at times, especially in any way. Any company that is going to be paying you from overseas, if they're a legit company and doing things properly, if you do not fill out your tax forms correctly, will have to withhold it. Pete, have you got anything to add to that? Or
yeah.
Jade?
Only that it's a W-9 form and it's an IRS thing. So, and DistroKid actually have an automated form that you fill in that you just say, I'm in this country, and it goes in and it actually fills out the W-9 for you. So it's actually much easier. If you deal with companies like Amazon, Jeff Bezos wants you to fill it out, and you basically have to go and read all the details and work out what page and what section of what treaty Australia and US law gives you, and that way you only get the 5% withholding. And yeah, it literally is usually 5 or 10% for most treaties in most countries, and up to 30% maximum for very few countries. But I think there's only about 4 or 5 of those countries, and they're ones where the US and them don't have great relations together. So the videos you're talking about, Mike, of people complaining about DistroKid stealing their money are from people who live in countries where if you work with a US company, the US don't like those countries, so they withhold a whole bunch of their money as tax and give it to the IRS. So, what I should have said before all that is, I am not a tax professional. Please consult a tax professional to get any advice when it comes to your finances.
Anything to add there, Jade, on that rather lovely subject?
No. Look, exactly. I agree with everything there. I've seen the videos with people saying they're stealing your money. It's absolute crap. Unless you are in a country that doesn't have a treaty, it's quite easy to fill it in. I don't know. I'm not a tax expert myself, but I have found no issues with it. And I have, So Amazon's a bit different. It's the same thing as YouTube, It's pretty straightforward. They make it pretty easy for you to fill everything in. They put it all out for you and just go here. Let's go.
The only thing I've come across is that if you haven't registered as a taxpayer in your country, that can be where it's confusing. So if you're 18 or 16 or 12, you have to be 18 anyway, but otherwise you need a legal guardian. But if you're 18 and say you've never registered for a tax ID in your country, you need to do that because they will need an ID number to put in there. So in Australia, it's your TFN, your tax file number. Other countries, it's whatever your tax ID number, social security type number is. So yes, this has been tax talk.
and lovely. I just wanted to stress that again, that DistroKid themselves are not special in this regard. No. In my experience, they were one of the first to sort of implement it how it should be. This is about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Since then, I mean, it took YouTube up until only a few months ago before they were up to scratch with it all. And of course, we use affiliates, as Pete said, like Amazon, Sweetwater, a few other people, and it's routine to have to do this. So we'll leave that lovely subject, but I did want to straighten that out. I want to thank, first of all, the people who have been in the live chat this evening. You've been really busy in there with some wonderful stuff putting in there. Always great to have you here. If you've been watching on the replay, don't forget to leave your comments. Don't forget to hit the like button. I forgot to mention it earlier, but it's always great if you can do that. It helps out a lot. And I would like to also thank my wonderful guests. First of all, Pete Johns, who I've known on YouTube since I've been on YouTube, who's been a wonderful friend. It's always great to have him on here. And the astoundingly talented and always entertaining Jade Starr. Even though she gives me crap, I still love her anyway. And always good to have, but really great insights as well tonight, by the way, particularly Jade. I thought had some really great insights. Pete was a little bit sleepy, but
I'm half asleep.
That's your fault.
I tuned out about halfway through.
It's not my fault. Pete knew the show. The show time was posted. It's not my fault.
Oh God!
We did it last week.
We'll discuss it after the show, perhaps. But
I got my vaccine. Oh God!
So yeah.
I know.
Okay.
How mean was I then?
Thank you so much for joining us on the show, folks, and we'll see you next Thursday.